Welcome back to Daily Devotions from Mount Calvary Lutheran Church. My name is Pastor Andrew Howe, and it's a joy to be here again today as we reflect for all the saints. This week we're talking about God's people and their life and their contribution to God's plan and purposes. And today we're going to go back to the Old Testament and talk about somebody that is probably familiar to you. The man Jacob, or in many cases known as Israel, which is where we get the true sons of Israel, the Israelites, the namesake for that. But before he was Israel, he was Jacob. The connection with Jacob is he is the son of Isaac. And not only the son of Isaac, but also the grandson of Sarah and Abraham. And there's so many stories in Genesis. And pretty much because of his namesake Israel, pretty much the last part of the book of Genesis covers Jacob and his family. Jacob and his brother Esau. Remember that story where he persuades Isaac to believe that it is Esau for the first son birthright. And obviously he puts those animal skins to mock and mimic the hairy skin of Esau. And obviously that whole drama tension between Jacob and Esau throughout the rest of their lives is certainly interesting. The other case and story of Jacob is an interesting story in Genesis chapter 32, where Jacob wrestles with God. I'm going to begin reading at 32, verse 22. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 children and crossed the ford at the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had, and Jacob left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." He said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping because of his hip. Therefore to this day the people of Israel do not eat the sinew of the thigh that is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip on the sinew of the thigh. He has this identity change because he had an encounter with God. God wrestled with Jacob, and in result, his name was changed. When we have an encounter with God, our lives change. For many of us, that event is baptism. We become a new person, born of water and the Spirit, in the name of the triune God. Just as much as Israel came and wrestled with God, and obviously he had all his flaws. We knew about his dishonesty with his own father Isaac, and the countless struggle of eventually losing his son Joseph to slavery, and for a good chunk of his life thought he was dead. But even so, God had to send an even greater Israel, an Israel in which when we encounter him, our lives change. His name is Jesus. He's the new Israel. He's the perfect Israel. Israel's not about a place or holy ground in a certain location, but it's about wherever God is, and wherever we encounter him, that is a holy place. Like in the Mount of Sinai with Moses, and when Jacob wrestled with God, that encounter was holy, not because of where it was or because of how that fallen human creature, like Jacob, but because the holy triune God was there in his midst. Same with us. When we come into God's house for worship, God is there. He's working through word and sacrament because he promises to be there. When we think about worship, I think we often think we come into God's place, God's sanctuary, and we're the one doing all the work in praising and thanking him. And we certainly do that. But the most important thing is God is there blessing us, giving us that time with him. He blesses us and makes those encounters life-changing. We're no longer that old sinful Adam, but we're also the new Adam in Christ Jesus because of what Christ has done for us on the cross. I pray that we would always remember our baptism and the new identity that we have in Christ. Because in Christ, we are Israel. Because Jesus is the true and perfect Israel. He's the Son of God who takes away all our sin. May you be blessed remembering your baptism this day and every day.